Hey, coaches. As we continue to look at co creating that stronger coaching relationship, a key measure of success and indicator of the competencies in trust and intimacy and the coaching presence or the coach's presence has to do with the idea of confidence. How confident is the coach in the coaching process, in the coach themselves, and most importantly, in the client and their ability to create, to think, to deal with the struggle, to shoulder the burden of the session well. Since coaching is a partnership, the coach's role is very important in order to cultivate that partnership, to create a space that is comfortable as it can be, safe for exploration, and has the sense of this is a place where we can create together as equals. With these competencies summed up in co-creating the relationship, that idea of confidence contributes to that safe space when done well. But as we've experienced at this by this point in the coach training process, when we ourselves are lacking confidence, that can impact the sense of the entire session, the way the client may feel during the session. While if we ask them how did the session go, they're usually very kind, but we have a sense of that lack of confidence, that need for correcting our language, the backtracking, the unwillingness to challenge, or whatever it might be, as indicators for lack of confidence, it is impacting the safety and creativity of the session. So in this video, we are looking at detractors and contributing or contributors to stronger confidence in a coaching session. What are the thoughts that get in the way? What to think about those? And what are the thoughts that tend to help and how to leverage those types of that thinking more often in a coaching session? So let's look at the detractors first. Start with the bad news. The first detractor is I don't really know how to solve this problem. And that's a very understandable thought that a new coach interacts with fairly regularly as we realize this is a really challenging, messy process of coaching. I don't know how to leverage my expertise, my experience, any tools even in this scenario. What do I do here? That is a detractor thought. In in the moment when the coach is worrying about I don't know how to solve this problem, a common occurrence in a coaching session will be do you think, have you tried, do you think, have you tried statements and questions that do not contribute to creativity, but rather are trying to look at, oh, how are the different ways we can try to solve this problem so I, as a coach, don't have to feel the burden of the ambiguity in this moment. Here is the counter thought, the dispute. In coaching, we are in the business of helping a client solve problems where there is no obvious solution. That is my job. That is your job as a coach to step into a place where there is no map, there is no clear answer. And for me to introduce the answer actually detracts from the value this person is paying for or their company is paying for. So when I have the sense, or when you have the sense of that thought, wow, I don't know how to solve this one. If I were in their shoes, I don't know what I would do. Great. That's exactly what you are there for. You are there to help them go through the struggle of recognizing this is a very ambiguous, challenging problem that they are experiencing, and to help them ask the questions that they need to answer in order to come up with a solution for themselves. It is scary, but that's why we work together with the client to help them walk through the discomfort and the scary in a safe, supportive environment. So that's a very important one. I don't know how to solve the problem. The second one is a very common one, and that is I don't think that question landed very well. I don't think I asked that question right. That wasn't the right question. From time to time, this detractor thought it might be useful to help us say, one second, Let me rephrase that. However, as a coach grows, we need to be more and more comfortable with the fact that some of our questions won't land, and that's okay. As a coach, we must grow in our trust. And this trust has three parts to it. First, I need to trust my experience as a coach, that my instinct here, there's something behind that. There's something behind why I asked it the way I did. Now, early on in the process, we might not have as much confidence in our coaching skills, and that's good, probably because we're building that. We're trying to build our skills. We don't want to confidently stand in front of the judges and sing our hearts out without ever being given feedback. So yeah, we don't want great confidence in ourselves as coaches until we really get those habits in place around powerful questioning, active listening, and demonstrating that listening within our questions and observations effectively. But as we build those habits, and that's where we are going during this next quarter, is to really solidify these things, we need to have more confidence in the risk that we take when we offer a question. Because if we immediately take that question back and try to fix it, it tends to create more confusion as we've thrown too much information at the client. After that first question, the client's brain is working. When we pause and say, wait, here's the next question, then their brain is derailed and they have to try to process the new one. And when this happens 3-4 times in stacked questions, there is no question. Or the client can only really process the one that stood out to them most, whether it's the right one or not. It doesn't matter at that point. They're pretty well confused. It's not a creative space in that situation. So we need to trust ourselves as coaches. And we, in this way, what I'm saying here is we need to trust the coaching process as well. That the coaching process is meant to be, like I said earlier, messy. It's going to have some issues with it. There are going to be some questions that aren't as effective as others. That's part of what it means to explore, to have an adventure, to set out down the road. We don't know where that road is going to take us. We need to be comfortable with that, to go along in this journey with our companion, our client, and help them struggle well, even when our contribution to the journey isn't as it should be. Let that first question go and see what happens. But the real core disputing thought to this is the one I hesitate a little bit, but I do go here in coach training, especially now that we've solidified the foundation. But when we as coaches stack our questions, when we backpedal that question, we say, you know what, that wasn't clear enough. Who is it not clear enough for? Is it not clear enough for me? Well, I know what I'm thinking, generally. But if I say this isn't clear enough, I'm saying to the client, this isn't clear enough for you. I'm the judge of that. And I know that you are not capable of handling the way that question was asked. Now, do we really think that? I don't think we actively believe that. But the subtlety is there that I do not trust the client's ability to A, struggle through a bad question, B, let me know if they didn't understand the question. That's a reality, in my opinion. When we have the habit of essentially demonstrating, I don't think that you are capable of handling that first question, and we do that over and over again, while that sense might be there for us, there may be a sense of judgment in the session that this is a place where the right questions, maybe the right answers, need to be offered. This is not a messy place. It's not meant to be messy. And I'm not really sure if my client's up to answering this question that's difficult or messy or incomplete. As coaches, we grow in our confidence as we see our clients laugh at us, acknowledge with us that, wow, that was a really bad one. Okay, yeah, let's restart. And to play in that space safely without us as coaches making the choices of when to fix our questions. Let the client let you know if the question needs to be reoffered. Let the client struggle well with it, because who knows what that poor question may provide. So, I don't know if that first question was offered well. I think there's a lot of depth there. It happens all the time. And for now, just continue to work on letting the first one go. Just see what happens. And of course, if the client's like, I don't know what you mean, then offer the second. That's a better habit over time for our coaching practice. Next, I don't know if I can say that to the client. That's another detracting thought, a thought that says, I don't know, in a way, that my client can handle this, or I don't want to hurt their feelings. However, coaches aren't paid to not hurt feelings. Coaches are paid to coach uncomfortable, ambiguous topics with the client in a way that is safe. But when something needs to be challenged, something needs to be highlighted, a question that is sharp and hard, when a question needs to be asked, though, the coach needs to take that risk, because the coach is not as interested in maintaining this relationship for the sake of a paycheck. We're not here to avoid offending. We're not here to make this the best, most fun experience for our clients. No, we are here to help this person accomplish whatever they want to accomplish. And if that means that we have this intuition that we need to challenge, they are paying for that challenge. Now, how we do this, though, is so important. If I challenge a person by just saying, I don't think you're right, it doesn't matter what I think, though. Direct communication, the elements of direct communication around offering something, an observation, a piece of feedback, a challenge to a client. This idea of permission to share something sharp, or partnering, just saying, hey, quick challenge for you. That's set up. Can I offer a challenge for you? Quick challenge for you, whatever you'd like to say. Permission or partnership, then share succinctly. Here's what I'm going to say, briefly. Then hand it back. Hey, but that's the way I'm seeing it, and I want you to let me know what you see here. That sense of, I'm confident in this observation for myself, but you, client, you are the expert. And when a coach does that well, they can practically say anything to the client, because the client can sense that the coach is only doing this not out of self-serving, not out of, oh, I want to share my opinion here, but I want to help you. And part of that help is to maybe highlight, to reflect, to challenge blind spots, ways of thinking, ways of talking, behaviors, statements made in session that are getting in the way, patterns that happen in session or out of session that are getting in the way of the client being able to make progress that they need to make. This is what coaching is for. We help this person grow as we support them and challenge them, but always in service of them and their goals. Now, that's the harder stuff, but there's always encouragement with each of those. Now let's look at some of the contributing thoughts, the things that we need to remind ourselves of throughout a coaching session. First, I know that this process is messy. I've said that a few times already in this video, but it is so important for the coach to remember within a coaching session. As we step outside of ourselves and we are thinking about how this coaching session is going, we need to remember, as I'm looking at myself, I'm like, wow, my posture is really weird. I'm expressing confusion on my face. That question wasn't as clean as it could have been. Oh, I missed an opportunity to use that brilliant piece of figurative language from my client. And that observation, it just didn't land the way I thought it would. For me to look at that session from the outside and say, that's coaching. It's messy. If I am growing in my skills, I'm confident in the coaching process, and I'm just acknowledging within the session that I'm making some mistakes, or I'm choosing some of the doors, and I always say at every pause in a session, there's 100 doors to go through. I'm choosing some good doors, but not the great, not the perfect doors. Yeah, that's coaching. That happens. But we're moving things forward. The process is messy, but like I said before, it is an adventure, and adventures that are worth taking in the books, those are messy. We learn sometimes through the mess, and we can even leverage the messiness as part of a next powerful question. As I'm reflecting, real quick, if I can observe, I'm reflecting back on the question I just asked you, and I know it wasn't as clear as I wanted it to be. And I wanted to acknowledge how well you took that and you've created this amazing solution, even in the midst of a ambiguous question. What are you learning about yourself as you struggle through the deep concepts we're covering with our session today? It's about the client and their journey, how they're growing, even when we make a mistake, because the mess helps grow things. But if we worry about the mess and we self-criticize throughout the session, then that's going to decrease the safety for the client. So we've just got to be comfortable and focus on those core behaviors, those core skills, the competencies to help us provide the best experience that we can. Next, struggling together, very similar to what we just said, but struggling together in a safe environment is what creates the best solutions. This contributing thought, contributing to confidence, is so valuable. How do you solve the most challenging decisions, challenges, problems in the world? You don't solve those by picking from a list of template options and answers. You solve those by looking at the specifics of a scenario and the overall values of the individual, the wholeness of this person, and we struggle. We try to make our own map and navigate as best we can, but we are always moving forward to the goal that we see in the distance, and we know that there are pitfalls along the way and challenges that we couldn't anticipate. But that struggling together in a coaching session is what creates the best solutions. The struggle and the mess is the space for creativity. It's that tension with the backing of a coach that builds options, that builds creativity, and then leads to a problem or leads to a solution to the problem. Now, finally, the client is the expert. This is the third contributing thought to coaching confidence. The client is the expert. So ask them. When I'm struggling with my question, where I should be going, what's really at stake here, what the client's meaning, all of these things, I'm not the expert on any of them. And the best thing to do when a coach has a sense of, I really don't know where this conversation should go next, the first person we ask is the client. We recognize them as the expert. They're the ones who can leverage the best solutions. Because even if we have the perfect solution to their problem, we know it, for us to offer it will not be internalized as in the same way as when the client comes up with it. When we take over the session and direct them the direction we think they should go, that's going to minimize their creativity and their customization of the coaching process. So we want to leverage checking in questions, deferring questions. As you reflect on what you wanted out of our session, where we are right now, where should we go next? How close are we to what you wanted out of the session? How close are we to wrapping things up here today? Would you like to continue to explore this, or would you like to make an action plan around what we have so far? Whatever it might be, some sort of checking in, whether open or closed, is valuable. When we are uncertain about the direction, let's check in with the expert. Hope this video is helpful looking at some detracting thoughts and contributing thoughts as you seek to build your coaching confidence, because your coaching confidence makes an impact on the confidence of the client in the messy adventure that is coaching. Thank you so much for learning. Thank you so much for coaching.